Well, hello, this is Pee-wee, and we are playing Rise of the Triad 2013 and continuing with part 3 of rocket jumps. You'll remember the end of last episode, we tried for a jump out of the map and kind of screwed up a little bit. So we're going to do that, but not right away because we've got a lot more to talk about. And it has to do with the wacky world of Rise of the Triad and what kind of strange things you can combine. So I need to start talking about um, a few of the quirks that you get with some of the unique things in this game. So we need to talk some technical things about the jump pads. Now I've gone ahead and cleared out most of this level already, just so we can have some uh, places to work with. And so this is the jump pad, and one of the interesting things about it is it's got its own bounding box. If you touch it from the bottom, you jump to a certain height. If you touch it from the top, jump a little bit higher, and that's because you hit the top of the bounding box, so you had a higher start to your jump. So what that gets you is you get that giant boost of speed from the jump pad, but you get it at a higher height from starting. If I were to start from the floor, I would get a boost from the floor, and if I start from the top of the bounding box, you get a boost from the top of the bounding box. Another important thing to note is that you can get to the front of the bounding box, so that you start with a little bit further starting position, so you can have a little bit more forward position before you start your giant boost. So if I do that from basically the middle of this jump pad, I don't really get that far. I actually got it that time. I can get a little bit farther if I get to the very front of this thing, which we will just try one more jump, but you can take my word for it. We don't have to really show anything. So the position you're on a jump pad, you have to be at the top of the bounding box, and you want to be in the front of the bounding box to make very longer jumps. So let's go ahead and see where I can get from just from the bottom of it. I get right about there, and then if I want to go to the top of this thing, oops, let's try that one more time. Go to the top of this thing, and I get right there. And that's about the highest I can get, is on top of this little flag. And this pipe that it's attached to gives me a ledge that I can jump onto, which is pretty useful if you want to jump onto the top of this thing. So we're going to go ahead and combine this jump pad with a rocket jump. Now remember, there's two that I can really make with this. There's the distance jump, which, since the speed of this thing is so high, it's going to only give me a little bit of push on top of it. Then there's the perfect rocket jump, which is very hard to pull off. It doesn't give me that much more momentum. Now remember, we talked about jump pads. I talked about jump pads in knife porting tutorial, but I'll talk about this again. When you touch it, you pretty much lose your velocity. So if I go at this with the running start, I go straight up because it's killing the rest of my velocity. I'll try that again, and it just kind of pushes me straight up. And it doesn't care about my previous velocity. It just does that. So if I do a rocket jump before I hit the jump pad, I'm going to lose all of my speed. It's just going to reset it and give me that. So I want to shoot the rocket after I hit this thing. So ready? And I got a little bit higher. In fact, I'll show you a better visual aid of where I got to, which is this higher ledge here. Instead of that pipe, I got onto this ledge. And that was more of a distance rocket. It's very hard to pull off the perfect jump. In fact, it's a tiny bit easier if you start from the ground. The problem is you get a little less height that way. And I got about the same height that time. We'll try one more time just for completeness sake. That was a mess up, and there we go. So those are what you can do with jump pads. There is a practical application to this, which we will take a look at after we look at the next funny little physics glitch. And this one I think was intentional, but it's got some strange results. So we've got one more guy to kill, who is fortunately right there. Now, something to note when oh, Gadzooks. This is called Gadzooks. I thought it was called E-Gads, but that's another checkpoint. So these gravitational anomaly disks, or GADs, as they're being called, are just kind of floaty things. But some of them have upward and downward velocity. And when they have upward and downward velocity, they're going to do something really cool. So let me go on to this one that stands still. I'm going to jump. I don't get very high. Get right about there. Now I'm going to go ahead onto this moving GADS. and jump, and I actually get a tiny bit higher as long as I'm jumping while it has upward velocity. That's because we're adding the velocity it's giving me upwards to my boost of speed, and I get actually a little bit of a higher jump. And what's practical about that is that if I'm coming up on this, basically it's an elevator, if I'm coming up on it, I can make the jump early and get to my destination pretty quickly. And that's kind of the thing. So let's combine that with a rocket jump. You don't get a whole lot extra, but you do get some extra momentum than you would normally get. So that's something you can do. And one more note, these things go through you, they clip through you, and then you stand on top of them. In the original Rise of the Triad, they worked a little bit differently. You would actually move them around. They'd still go through you, but they'd kind of desync themselves with each other. But in this, they always keep their actual pattern. You can't disrupt it, but they will go through you, and you'll eventually go on top. So now we're going to go to a practical application of the bouncy pads. So let's go ahead and change levels. We're going back to spiraling in just because it is one that has a lot of weapons. It has a lot of situations we get in. I'm not very fond of the map anymore because of the amount of times I've had to go into it, and there's some sort of number of deaths glitch that I'm dealing with, and I can't get past yet. But that's just, it's a good example for a lot of things, and we're going to try to very quickly get rid of all these bad guys. We'll just stab them for the sake of the gruesome nature of that, because lots of blood and guts is great in video games. And there's the next one. Okay, so we need to turn this on. We got to get ourselves we have to get ourselves a bazooka. So let's kill some more bad guys. Where's the bouncy pad? Kill that guy, kill that guy, and kill that guy. If I were to have grabbed the nuke, I could have cleared out all of these little towers really fast because the nuke will kill both people in it. You don't even have to see them. We're going to ignore the people coming out there because we don't care about them right now. Okay, so here is a bazooka. Here's a jump pad. Let's see how high the jump pad will get me. Right about there. Let's try one more time. We're going to give it top of the B box. Yeah, that's about as high as it'll get me. So if I am to combine that with a rocket jump, I will actually get a lot higher. So first we're going to look at the rocket jump without. I only get about to the bottom of that little ledge. So we're going to go ahead and do a rocket jump on here. It doesn't matter which one you pull off, because you get about the same height as we saw before. And if I fell off, you combine the both of those to get back up. Which in this specific instance, there's about 7 or 8 bad guys that come out of this door. You might fall down. So it's actually a really quick way to get back up. Or if falling down is part of your strategy, you want to get down and fight them from a distance, because they do come out less at a time if you wait for them, and you can get the drop on them. Plus they will all, every bad guy here has a chance of stealing your bazooka, and as we noted before, if they steal your bazooka specifically, they can shoot it back at you. Not the other ones. They can steal them, but they won't shoot it back at you. That was an interesting visual glitch. Okay, so we talked about GADs, we talked about jump pads, and combining rocket jumps with them, and kind of cool little things that you can do. We're going to go for one more cool thing because we can. So we're going to jump to the room, and we're going to jump onto the I'm too old for this stuff checkpoint. And we're loading in. You're going to hear me kind of have a change of pace at the moment because the kids are awake. Hi. And so I don't want to repeat any of the inappropriate things from the game. So we've got our drunk rocket. We're going to make our drunk rocket jump. The thing we did not mention before, which is something that's kind of a nice reprieve for anyone who's having trouble timing the spin up of this thing properly. So we're going to do a right click, which will give us 6 drunk rockets immediately. It's a pretty high jump. It does a ton of damage if you're in a real not easy mode. But it does not get you as high as the constant stream of attacks. So I have just enough to make this jump here. We're going to go ahead and try it. Try one more time. Ooh, what am I doing wrong? There we go, and we can get up there. Let's just reload checkpoint. And we're going to see here, I'll go in a little more detail. The checkpoints like to break, so we can load the same checkpoint and start in the same spot and get all the same things, except it loads the wrong one. So this one's called Bouncy Castle, which is one of the other doors. I think it's that one right there, which is probably the most frustrating thing that people have come across in the game yet, but that's for people who haven't discovered the secret path yet, which is even more frustrating. But I think it's really fun, especially since it's called the Bouncy Castle, which was just a cool idea. Oh, I did not give myself enough. Okay. This is one of the jumps you actually have to have a running start on, believe it or not, because the stream of rockets is going to get you going and going and going, and every rocket actually cares about the momentum you have before. I mean, you do keep momentum with rocket jumps, but usually it's not important because air control takes care of everything. But in this case, momentum is actually very important. And one of the reasons is that in order to bridge that gap, by the time I get to right about there, my rockets are no longer affecting me because they're too far down. So we're going to go ahead and fly back up. Oh, that was a little too far. And I'm stuck on a wall. That's one of the things you'll find about Bouncy House. If you're against the wall and you're doing higher jumps, you can lose all sideways momentum because there's some sort of friction against the walls in this game, which I don't quite understand yet. Alright, there we go. Now we are up. Which before I fell down into the nothingness, but here we're going to just go ahead and take advantage of that. And there's no bad guys because we didn't trigger anything. We're going to go ahead and do that. And oop, stucking us there. And then there's the exit, and we can just exit in pretty quick time. And what you can do with that is if you want to do a speed run and get tons of points, you can do that to skip that. And if you really want to do that, you can kind of glitch your way in with a drunk rocket. I believe you can get one in the level before, and just try to beat the level with all of that left, just only use your machine gun, and then you can use that to just skip the whole level and get a good time, which I might do in a speed run in the future. And since I have 3 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and show one more glitch, which has nothing to do with rocket jumping, but it's very, very, very fun. Oh, I did not. Stupid me, I pressed continue and not main menu. A gripe that I have is it's not easy to switch levels. So we're going to go to the very last level. Yep, I'm using the trusty old Lorelei because she's quick. And here is a pretty obvious glitch in the level. And there's some interesting things to note about it. So there is a hole in the side of the level. You can fly right through it, and you'll notice there's some clipping up here, so you can get kind of stuck on it. You can't go up any higher. So all of this stuff out here is all a glitch, actually. It's not supposed to be here. What happened is all of the set pieces in the level are just kind of sticking out over what looks like a place that's supposed to be here, but it's all just the upper part of other things. So this lava's not hurting me because it's actually not supposed to be here. It's just kind of left over from other parts of the map. So here's what's cool. I'm going to go ahead and fall down here. And now I am at the second phase of the fight. And I can kill off all these jerks. Don't have to worry about them. I can see he's kind of standing there. And after I've geared up, which there's some over there, and there's some over there, and plenty of cool stuff, Asbestos armor, bulletproof armor, stuff like that, then I can trigger his next phase and just kill it. And that will skip a big chunk of the level and give you some... That's a pro tip for some speed running. I'm sure they'll fix it soon, but for the moment you can take advantage of it and get your speed runs in. But that's really all I wanted to go after, and there's Oscura's second form. But I am going to cut it off here. Thanks for watching.